that seems like the best use of time. You're not doing anything. Make music because it's therapeutic and it helps with your anxiety about the pandemic and everything going on. And also, people are moshing in their bedrooms. You know what I mean? Because we all miss shows.
Oh
So
yeah.
like, it just seemed like a good creative outlet. And so when Tyler sent me the riffs, I was just like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we got to do that.
Yeah.
We got to do that.
I know. It's always like you're the scope guy at shows. I'm like,
Yeah.
I have a name.
Exposure.
Yeah. My friend Jax one time called it scooped exposure, and he was just like,
Nice.
he was eating ice cream at the time, so I was like, good dad joke.
Nice.
Cool. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. This is another episode of the Scoped Exposure podcast. I got two fantastic folk from the fields of Florida joining me today, Tyler and Kennedy. Thank you for joining me on the pod today.
Oh yeah,
Of course.
we're stoked.
And could you guys just give me a proper introduction of just your name, the band you're a part of, and obviously you guys are based in Florida, but just give me a proper intro.
You got it.
Oh shit. I am Kenny. I sing for a Wish from the sunny state of Florida, the trash can of the United States. So beautiful things grow out of garbage. So, we are.
Damn, there's shots being already fired, so love that.
I love Florida, but Jesus Christ.
It's a love-hate relationship for sure.
For sure.
You definitely love Tallahassee, but there are some parts of Florida that are definitely you want to stay away from.
Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy. The ones with alligators.
Yeah.
Stay away from those.
Right. And then Tyler, what do you do in the band?
I play guitar. It was kind of a project that, I it was definitely a quarantine kind of inspired project and definitely wanted to get something going. We had like a couple key members. When you live like in a city like Tallahassee, musicians are kind of they either rotate through the city because we're a college town, or they just pick up and leave.
Yep.
So we've had a few key folk leave and move on to do bigger, better things and career stuff, and which is awesome. But it's kind of you got to start over. It seems like every couple of years with our scene and bands kind of go in and out. So we're really stoked on this project, and I just wanted to get something down kind of while the quarantine was happening. So
Gotcha.
Sure.
And I definitely want to talk about some of those origins kind of in great length. But before we get started, we got to crack our bevs because this is now my new way of just combining both interests in video, hardcore, and bev culture all into one. So I'm drinking a Tempo gin and soda because it's Friday, baby.
That's right.
Delicious.
That's right.
I was thinking when I was kind of prepping for this podcast, I was like, I probably have to drop this on Friday, even though we're recording on a Friday, so it can be like, having a cold one with the boys on the podcast. Do you guys want to share what you guys are sipping on?
This is my usual Jack and Coke. Probably drink a little too many, but it's great. It is Friday, so
yeah. What about you, Kenny?
I just got off of work being a mailman, so this is something that keeps me going. Fuse Strawberry Peach.
Ooh, I've never seen one of those before.
Jam.
That is nice.
Jam.
Shout out to Fuse. They're a Calgary hardcore band from right here, actually.
Hell yeah.
You guys should definitely check them out. But yeah, cheers. Excited to do this podcast.
Cheers.
Clink. I never want to have my drink over my laptop because I foresee so many things going wrong in that department.
It's funny, I just did that. Didn't even think about it.
Yeah, man. Just slam it. Cool. Well, yeah. Very excited to do this podcast. I'm not sure if you guys got a chance to listen to any of the episodes prior to this, but usually how I like to intro a lot of these things is just getting context about how my guests got into hardcore just in general, because I think setting it up is a proper way to understand like how we came together right now. So I've never done it with two people, so you guys will have to balance the scales as far as who's talking.
Yeah.
Don't punch one another if someone's talking over one another.
I will go first. So always a band kid, always music stuff, but I'd say probably till the time I was 14, I was really into this local band from here called Mayday Parade. They were not a hardcore band.
Nope, but
Very
sick
sing-songy
band
stuff.
still.
Very sick. And then a friend of mine came up to me because I've been playing drums since the 8th grade. And that's how I entered into hardcore, is playing drums. So he was like, yo, do you want to be in this band? And I was like, what does it sound like? He was like, yeah, we want to play metal type stuff. And it's weird because at that point I was like, nah, dude, you can't even hear what they're saying. You can't even hear the lyrics. I don't like that stuff. And then fast forward like 2 months later, I think Slipknot was my first like record that anybody like had ever given me that like to listen to.
Yeah.
I listened to it, bought my first set of double pedals like the next month. And like I've been into like heavy stuff ever since then. Went to my first hardcore show when I was like 16 and I saw what it was all about and never left. I'm 30 years old now and like people talk about like aging out and like growing up, but like I don't think I'll ever leave it. I don't think I'll ever leave it because without it, the person I probably would have been, I don't think is as good. I've met incredible people, you know what I mean? Like seen things that I never would have been able to see, been a part of things I never would have been able to be a part of. And like, it's this collective idea of critical thinking and challenging the status quo that you do not find in such a pure thought, a pure form as hardcore. Because it's like, it's this in your face, like, this is what I have to say. If you don't like it, that's fine. But this is who I am. This is who we are. And it's like, I haven't felt that anywhere else.
Yeah.
And it's like being black, being poor, you know, hardcore is a bunch of kids that are ill-adjusted and like kind of on the outskirts. So it's like, never felt more at home than here. Things never made more sense than at shows, supporting your friends, jumping off of shit. It just makes sense. And like, I don't think I could ever leave it. And that's how we are. I'll be 50 something jumping off the stage.
Damn, Tyler, you got a very high bar to set because that was straight fire. That was awesome.
So sorry.
So I started. I'm originally from Central Florida, so I grew up in Orlando, and I'm 30 as well. So I started playing in bands, 14, 15, and I was huge in the Christian metalcore scene at the time. Orlando was kind of like popping off.
Very good era.
And
very good.
Kind of, I guess.
Love it.
So that was kind of high school, and then my like junior year of high school, one of my friends, Alex Moras, he showed me I consider him my old head, even though he's my same age, but showed me like 100 Demons on like a youth youth group trip, and it just changed my life. I was just like, okay, this is what I was meant to listen to. And so
everyone's swapping the Newsboys, and you're just like, no, listen to this, buddy.
Well, it was like I was listening to stuff like As Lay Dying and
Demon Hunter, all that kind of shit.
Yeah, and then getting shown like Seventh Star and stuff like that. It was just a different form of the same thing that I felt like I was listening to. At the time period, I think that was one of the cooler things growing up is the lines were not as rigid as they are now. It was just we were just going to heavy shows. It wasn't necessarily you were going to a metal show, you were going to a hardcore show. And so then as soon as I moved to Tallahassee, in Central Florida and Orlando, there was more, I would say, mosh metal shows. You'd go to Back Booth, you'd go to the Social, and you'd have bands like the Acacia Strain coming through. So that was my kind of representation of kind of that hardcore. And then I moved to a smaller city like Tallahassee, where shows were just so much more genuine. And I considered those, 10 years ago, my first true hardcore shows, because you were just seeing smaller bands come through and No Excuses. This local band was kind of on the end of their time, seeing these bands Death Roll and Kenny even played in this old band, Kings Among Men. That was like this kind of like beat downy metal band that I ended up going to. So
what was the name? I must have missed that just with Kenny laughing.
Kings Among Men. It was sick.
Yeah, it was definitely a mosh metal band. The entire point was like, I want to see my friends beating the dog shit out of each other. How do we make that happen? Kings Among Men was born.
So then Tallahassee was just this city that you would never expect to see some of the shows that happened here. And then, just with the Point Blank era and just some of the shows that happened, it was funny to have these hills and valleys. It seemed like we kind of have a period of just, Trapped Under Ice would come through, Super Kids high. Like Us, Mongoloids, and then there'd be a couple years where either the person who was booking shows would move or something like that, and we just have to start over again. And so we've kind of all realized that the people living here kind of need to take it under their wing if we want to keep this scene alive. And so it's been interesting.
Yeah, the passing of the torch, I think there's naturally, there's almost like all right, I'm going, and like that flame, if it's burning, like this is pretty metaphorical, but if it's burning, as that pass happens, it's going to die down just a little bit just because there's some, figuring out of like venues and like, oh, this person is the person to hit up for shows. Like so many times, like people being like, oh, I'm still getting hit up for shows, and it's like 5 years later, just like because they have that reputation or what have you. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So as far as transitioning into the current project, I can't even remember because normally I can kind of map it back on how I found out about you guys, but it might have just been just a random like Instagram story share, and I was like, oh, this is a cool looking band logo, and then I went and I was just like, whoa, this is very, very sick. So you were mentioning before how Wish kind of started as a quarantine band kind of thing, but can you kind of rip that open a little bit more and do the larger why on how like certain members came into the band and the songwriting process and everything in between?
I have a problem with just having a hard drive full of riffs that never see the light of day. So it's a hard balance between the studio and recording bands and then wanting my own projects to kind of see the light of day. And so I was really determined, because I talked to Kenny about him doing vocals on these songs that I had been messing around with. And I had been in a thrash band previously that I really loved kind of the style of, that I kind of wanted to take parts of that and just simplify them a little bit. And I wanted songs that they gave you what you wanted and took it away as soon as I didn't want to give you too much. And so I think that something that's overdone sometimes in hardcore is just the predictability and kind of just the throwing in a breakdown just to throw in a breakdown. I wanted the songs to be cool and hardcore without
the overt heaviness.
Unnecessary heaviness. Like unnecessary. I wanted it to be riffy and cool, and I wanted it to be short and sweet. And so had these songs, hit up Kenny, we put out, released it like digitally, and then we just knew that we wanted to get a good group together, because kind of as I was touching on before, Tallahassee is just a hard city to find good musicians in, and musicians that want to, everyone wants to be in a band. When it comes into putting in the work, sometimes that's where it gets tricky to find reliable people. And so Kenny and I decided we wanted to build a group of people that we knew were reliable and people that we knew, had credibility and stuff like that. And so we've got just one of my favorite groups that I've ever just been in, of the camaraderie and the guys. And so
we've known each other
a decade,
a long time.
I mean,
a long time.
All of us have known
from the 20s to the 30s.
Exactly.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Very cool.
Like we got one guy who's 35, Tony.
Right.
I mean, he's played in Shai Halud for like 4 years. He's played in that band No Excuses that I mentioned. He's definitely like a local idol, like for all of us, for sure. And we got this guy Jordan. He's got, he's on kid number 2,
Yep.
like a grown man. Me and Kenny are 30, and then Bradley, my favorite and least favorite person in Tallahassee. He's like my friend that I love and hate.
Yeah.
We, but
always been that way. Always.
No, I think there's something huge there that I've always, maybe not struggled isn't the right word, but had to juggle when it comes to like finding members of a band, because you need to find someone who's committed to doing the band. It's a Triforce kind of thing. There's commitment. There's I actually like this person and I want to hang out with them, and then there's people who like are those two things, but they don't have a guitar rig or a drum set or whatever.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you can make it work. Like, okay, you can use my stack and you can use my shells or what have you. But that finding that Triforce is sometimes very challenging when you're starting from scratch, for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
I had been trying to front a band. When I stopped counting, it had been 6 years of like avidly trying to front a band, because before that I had only been playing drums in bands. You know what I'm saying? And I love playing drums. I've been playing since I was in 8th grade. I've been playing a long time and I love it. But like I always felt like I had something to say and I wanted to say it. And that's kind of like the beauty, is like everybody wants that mic grab. Everybody wants to be on stage and tell their story. And so it's like me and Jordan started another band, Diamondback, and like up until that point, I mean, it's like maybe 8-10 years, I finally found somebody that wanted to do it. And then here comes Tyler, and he is like, you want to start something else? And I'm like, dude, absolutely I want to do that, because like the quarantine thing, like I had been seeing other people start quarantine bands. I guess that guy from what's that band, he used to be in Bruise. He used to front Bruise, and he had released like 4 projects over quarantine within a month. Trey Roberts. And like, I was like, that seems like the best use of time. You're not doing anything. Make music, because it's therapeutic and it helps with your anxiety about the pandemic and the, everything going on. And also people are moshing in their bedrooms. You know what I mean? Because we all miss shows. So like, it just seemed like a good creative outlet. And so when Tyler sent me the riffs, I was just like, yeah, we got to do that. We got to do that.
And it seems like obviously if you're a mid-tier or decent touring band right now and you are just wrote a new record, probably dropping it, a lot of bands have held off on dropping records just because they can't tour on it and it's not the right time. So I think it's like giving way to smaller bands to go ahead and it's like, okay, we're gonna release our demo, we're gonna bust out another couple tracks and just we can't play shows right now, but at least we can get music out there and people. So
yeah, and there's a couple things there I definitely want to dive into, but Kenny, you were touching on it as far as just like having something to say, like lyrically speaking. So I was curious if we could just kind of quickly touch on some of the actual songs on the EP. There's definitely musically, there's a lot that really stand out to me, like you were saying, Tyler, like giving and then taking away immediately, like always keeping someone on their toes. But Kenny, is there like a specific song lyrically that you're, I guess, like with the amount of time leading up to actually like being a front person, that really meant a lot to you to actually write it down, put it out, and have other people resonate with?
This is gonna sound corny, but almost every song, because like I would say probably the 2 most important things to me have been being Black and my friends and family, and hardcore is like this perfect, like, petri dish microcosm thing of like all of that, because like the people I found here are like my family. But like we'll take Friend or Foe. Like when I heard Friend or Foe, like that was kind of like right at the peak of like social unrest and like racial tension and stuff like that. And it's like, that is stuff that I've been dealing with subconsciously and on the surface since I was, every Black kid has a moment where they realize that they're not white, And ever since that moment, that like, oh, I'm not like them, I get treated different. Ever since that moment, it only gets worse. But you learn how to deal with it. And for me, hardcore has been somewhere where it has kind of been sharpened into like a focus and like a I'm gonna do it in spite of you type of attitude. You know what I mean? And so like Friend or Foe was like a really, really important one for me to write and for me to say, because like all of my friends, all of my people of like person of color and white allies and stuff like that, all of them were like, in shock, didn't know how to feel, and angry. And like there's nothing like listening to a song. Like this is a song that I wish I had heard. I wrote a song that I wanted to tell me at that moment when I found out. You know what I mean? It's kind of like I hear you and I understand, and we're gonna get through it. And you just gotta like not give in. I refuse. Yeah. You know what I mean? I refuse. And anybody who is going to be in my realm, in my world, you have to refuse to. Otherwise, we can't be. I mean, there's no. I can't let it slide. Because things are on the line. So, like, Friend or Foe was like a really, really important one for me to like get out.
Yeah, and that was actually, when I was, when I was doing my recap monthly playlist, and I was like going through, okay, you guys, I think it was July that you guys dropped that, or June, one of those two. Yeah. I was like going through the tracks, and Friend or Foe, like musically, was like, yeah, it is a bit longer, but there's a lot of, I guess, flow to it, and it's definitely more of a jammy song. But lyrically speaking, it really hit me, and I think you're right that I think when a lot of this happened, it kind of it was like the actual like awakening for a lot of people that Black people have always dealt with this oppression by police and just like the world and how it was set up, but this was the moment that actually kind of revealed it, and it kind of was the song to me was like, okay, like I got to know like which side are you going to be on? Yeah. Because a lot of people, even still with unfortunately like so many other people of color who have been killed by police, are still like not declaring like what side they're on, and
they're on the fence. And yeah,
100%. And so like, yeah, I think that for me was like a huge song, just not even in the times we're on now, but like for so many different social issues as well. Like,
oh yeah, dude.
Yeah.
And we wrote that song too because that is the one song that I kind of do. I go against the normal kind of statement that I said earlier. I wanted to give you short and sweet and not give, everything to you. And that one is totally verse, chorus, bridge, the most standard. I was like, I want to write a Terror song. Yeah. I want to sound like Terror.
Oh my God, dude. That is exactly what it sounded like. And I love Terror. Oh, it makes sense. Yeah.
So it definitely left a lot of space for Kenny to write what he wanted to write. And so and that's definitely what we want to do. So
yeah. So something when it comes to Wish is, I guess you guys are, I don't know if you would call yourselves like an acronym hardcore band, because it's Wish, but then right underneath it is When I Saw Hell. And I thought that was pretty interesting. So I wanted to ask, why, like, what do you guys prefer to go by? Is one a nickname? Is one more like if it's being serious? Just kind of curious of the creative decision for that.
When I thought of Wish, I thought it was the most original fucking thing that you had ever thought of. When I looked on Spotify, I could not believe at how many people use that name. Yeah. And so I really like Wish as a hardcore band, like just the name. And I think it leaves kind of interpretation to what it means and stuff like that. When you put When I Saw Hell in there, then it kind of brings a different, meaning into it. So I definitely want I want to be referred to as Wish, but, definitely When I Saw Hell is what it stands for.
Super genius, dude. Because I like, not like no BS, super genius. You know what I mean? Because
I don't know about that.
It's it fits so well, and like I love it, dude. Like it's so good.
And there's a movie. I don't know if it's called When I Saw Hell, but it's I want to say it's a South Korean horror movie, and it is a crazy film.
Yeah.
So I would definitely check that out.
Might have to throw a sample from that movie on the next Wish release.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did have a little game that I prepared. I don't know if you guys want to do
Oh,
this.
nice.
So it's the band acronym game. So it's essentially
no.
I'm gonna throw. I got 3 names here. We won't live do this for too long, but I'll throw a band name at you, and then I want you guys to work together to have like an acronym, kind of exactly like yours is. So they get progressively harder. So we'll start off really simple with only a 3-letter band name. Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot for this.
Everybody finds out we're posers.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you don't. It's not like saying 3 bands for that. It's just coming up with something goofy.
Okay.
So the first one is End.
Oh, we're coming up with it.
Yeah, like the thing for When I Saw Hell, but like you're gonna give us the acronym and we're gonna do the.
Okay, I thought you were gonna give us like NIN, and I'm gonna have to be like, what does that stand for?
No. No, you're all good. Yeah,
okay.
It's the opposite. Kenny got it right. So the first band is End. So that's like Brendan Murphy's like side project, like heavy hardcore band.
You said End?
Yeah, END.
Okay.
Heavy hardcore.
They all have to be goofy. Our acronyms can't be serious.
Oh, I was about to go real dark.
Yeah, you don't. You can be as goofy. I don't think any of the people in these bands are gonna listen to this podcast anyways.
Oh my god.
Oh, dude, it's so bad. It's so bad.
Everyone needs donuts.
Ooh,
yes,
that's perfect.
Everyone needs donuts, and that's exactly what they make me think of too.
Everybody needs donuts. Well,
that super group, that band rules.
Yeah,
straight up.
That band is a huge inspiration for another band I do, Flesh Driver. But immediately when I heard the tone and the combination of people that they have in that band, it's so insane.
Yeah, so if there is a textbook definition of a supergroup, it's End. Sure.
Yeah, dude.
So the next one is Dare. So California Straight Edge.
Okay.
DARE.
Good band.
Dare.
Ask.
So we just got off of Everyone Needs Donuts.
Everyone needs donuts.
Don't ask Rebecca every time.
Don't ask who.
What do you mean? You know who Rebecca is, and you
don't ask Rebecca.
You better not ask her nothing.
Who's Rebecca?
I'm married, so I'm not gonna ask Rebecca shit. Unless it's for fucking donuts.
True, exactly. Yes.
I need to know who Rebecca is, or is that just?
Did you just pull that out?
I literally plucked that from the ether.
That's not plucking anything. It's choosing a random name.
Well, Rebecca. I mean.
Okay, we'll go.
There was no like stops between those. It was just like bam, 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 bam. Very good. This is fun. Yeah, we got one more. So this is the hardest, more so because of one of the letters in here. So Vein.
Vein. Okay.
Vein.
So pluck another letter or random word out of the ethos.
What is it? EI? Is EI?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's EI. I before E, except if it's Vein.
Except if it's Vein.
Very electric intercourse ninjas.
Very electric intercourse ninjas. Very good.
Damn.
Very good.
That went way better than I expected. To be honest.
Sorry, man. I love that band. Is good. Super good band. So sorry.
Yeah, so sorry.
I think
that is what most of the people who are pitting for Vein look like anyways. So
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. 100%. You described him head to toe.
Very electric.
To be honest, I was a little nervous when we were doing that. I'm like, oh no, this is too on the spot. Like I need to figure out a way to transition. But it went way better. So shout out Vein,
it's much
Dare,
harder than
and
super hard.
Words are hard.
Yeah.
Words are hard.
So hard.
So yeah, we're gonna transition a little bit here. Tyler, I know that you're involved with a lot of other things outside of just hardcore in general. So I know that you I don't know if it's co-founding or just co-running Blackwood Drums.
So yeah, I would say, I mean, Travis is the workhorse behind it. We
Sure.
kind of like founded it. I mean, basically, I can explain. I was running a drum company here in Tallahassee. He was kind of doing his own thing in California. I had gotten the opportunity to backline This Is Hardcore, and I had met Travis through a mutual friend of mine, and I saw the quality of his work was just it just blew me away, and also his personality too. He wasn't a lot of people that you meet, and I feel like just becoming an entrepreneur or starting a business, they're so eager to kind of just run to market and get their product or their service, to the masses as soon as they can. And they end up, either rushing stuff. And so I was involved in some people that, I feel like they weren't as dedicated to the quality of stuff. And so I was looking for someone who had that spark and who shared that interest with me and who shared that vision. And so as soon as I met Travis, I knew that that was him. At the time, I had been supporting drummers like Chris Mills from Harm's Way. I had, ended up talking with Chris from Power Trip. And so we were getting him sets and stuff like that. And so I just decided, if these artists would be down to merge, let's go ahead and merge and just all go under the name Blackwood. And so we merged, and then went ahead and have been doing this hardcore for the past 4 years. We did Sound and Fury a couple of times. There's a festival that gets put down here in Florida called FYA that we go ahead and backline. Really awesome festival. Yes.
So good. So good.
So glad that we have something in Florida. So that's just been awesome. So yeah.
Yeah. And it was kind of I think I had to remember seeing that the branding of that drum set off of a lot of like Sonny's videos at This Is Hardcore, at a lot of even videos that like Steven from 197 Media would do in Sound Fury, and even Cameron doing stuff at FYA.
Yeah.
So like it was always like any big hardcore festival that wasn't just like call it your like regular, like you go to Walmart and you see all of like the regular drum brands, so to speak.
Yes.
It's like more of like, oh, this is something that's a little bit smaller, but maybe have more care and thought put into it.
And that's what we really wanted to like. My experience with drum companies and just music companies in general is they won't even look to the hardcore industry, and if you look at Turnstile or take a band, we'll just take them for example. There's a cap on Spotify listeners. Going into hardcore, you're not in it. If you think that you're going to get 1 million monthly listeners on your Spotify account, you might want to probably play pop country or something like that. Get into, and so as a business person, they overlook the hardcore community all the time. They think that there's no one who wants quality products. There's no one who has, that there's no money involved. If you see the amount of t-shirts that are sold through hardcore and the amount of a lifestyle it is, that there's a market there, and that there's great drummers. You take Matt Wood from Vane, who Blackwood supports, and I mean, he is changing the game right now. He is influencing so many people with his style of drumming. Yet, I don't know how many drum companies have really paid attention to him to hit him up. So, we really wanted to make sure that we stay in the hardcore community and have our foothold in there, and really want to support those musicians and pay attention to them. So
yeah, and it's huge. I would argue that a lot of hardcore drummers are probably some of the most talented drummers in the world, just Absolutely. As far as having to play like extremely fast and consistently, but also like having to have groove and like have jazz influence. Like, yeah, there's I'm kind of like, this is a little looking ahead, but I think and maybe me mentioning this on the podcast is a way to kind of like, all right, I have to do it because I talked about on the podcast, but I for March, like I wanted to do like a March Madness of something, and I know shout out Axe to Grind on their podcast. They did like a actual like a bunch of different albums, but I wanted to do it on a person to person basis. So I think I'm gonna do some kind of March Madness for hardcore drummers and
That
have
would be
them.
so cool.
Yeah,
be
I'm not sure how it will work. Like if it's just the name and the band, or if I have to ask these people to submit clips or things like that to pit one another together. But yeah, there's so many. Shout out to all the fast hardcore drummers out there.
Dude, we got
fast and accurate. Insanity.
I'm just putting in my top bracket right now. Paul Clune. I don't know if you know him, or I don't even think that's his last name, but that's just him.
That's him on Instagram. Yeah.
Well, he plays for Suburban Scum.
Oh,
that drummer, one of the heaviest hitting drummers. If you see him live, he's absolutely insane. Mitch from
Low End.
Yep. Insane groove. And then, Matt Wood just kind of takes the gold on that. But.
Yeah. Mitch, 100%. He was actually one of our very first podcast episodes. I think it was episode 4, and we did it in the back of their in the back of their touring vehicle.
Oh, nice.
It was very sick. If anyone wants to go back in time and check that out, definitely do that. So, just talking about Florida. I know you guys at the very beginning were like, yeah, it's a place.
Yeah, dude.
Do you feel like it was kind of funny because I was like Tallahassee, like I'm not 100% sure where that is in the Florida spectrum.
Oh, yeah.
And as soon as I just search Florida to get to Google Maps, it's like immediately all these crazy articles about COVID and all these things. Yeah. So, with things like FYI and some other bigger bands that are coming up in the Florida scene that are kind of hopefully giving Florida a better name, at least in the hardcore world versus the rest of the world. But what do you think is maybe the one thing that can't be forgiven when it comes to Florida people or just culture in that space?
There's so much.
Do we have another 2 hours?
Oh my God.
You would think that we don't have a lot, we are a red state. So depending on where you live, you have Tallahassee, which is a very liberal area. So we love, being able to live up here where we're not really surrounded by too many crazies. But, you get down into, and I don't mean to get super political, but you get down in Central Florida and
it gets rough. It's rough.
It's red as it can be.
Yeah,
and so, rough, especially in South Florida and stuff like that. And so, I mean, like I said, I'm glad that we live in Tallahassee because it's a lot more liberal of an area.
A little bit removed from that.
I will say hardcore is probably the saving grace of Florida. I'm just going to say that. Because it's like, dude, there's crazies everywhere. I deliver their mail sometimes. And it's just like, you got to keep your mouth shut. But we are definitely the saving grace of Florida. We're the ones at the marches. Telling other people to go to the marches,
And there is this I will defend Florida for a second, though, because there's this misconception that Florida, you read the newspapers or the headlines and you see Florida man and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And we have, that, I don't know if you've heard of the Sunshine State Law, what I'm talking about?
No.
So
please tell me what that is.
Florida is one of the few states, I think there's only 2 other states that have this law, but it allows journalists to have open records with law enforcement. So if you get arrested, the news station has news of that, and it's public access. So if you in Florida right now, you can go on mugshots.com and you can look up everyone's mugshot. That is just public information.
It's a daily report. It's a daily report that people look at to see their friends, oh, look at that idiot, he got arrested last night, drunk and disorderly conduct. It's it's a pastime.
So with that, so that causes a chain reaction in news reports because they have access to all these crazy stories all the time. But I guarantee you, crazier shit happens in West Virginia and other states. You just don't hear about it because they have privacy laws on their, if you get arrested, you're allowed some privacy. In Florida, you get arrested, we're like, fuck you.
Yeah, everybody's laughing at it.
Yeah.
Let's put everybody's laughing.
Well, I feel far more empathetic to that, knowing that now, because it was just man, How are these news articles getting these crazy stories of some guy throwing a gator at a pregnant lady or however that whatever that is? I'm pulling
through a drive-through.
Yeah,
that happened through the drive-through.
Right.
The story you didn't hear is in West Virginia, the gator was smoking meth and they threw it through the window.
Yeah.
So you just don't hear that story.
Right. Yeah. Kenny, you kind of brought it up, and this is not on my list because I didn't know that you deliver mail, but I'm curious if you have any funny mail delivering stories.
Oh my God, how much time you got? Yeah.
Jordan, we're a half mailman band.
Yeah.
Jordan is also a mailman.
So he actually just
same company or different?
Same station. Me and him work at the same station. So I got him the job, and so we started working together, and like all the stories that I've been telling him, like he was experiencing too. And it's just like, I mean, you've got like, I think today I almost got a lady fired because she was like, we were talking about how she's from Havana, which is another like small town in Florida that's close to here. She has to commute to work with like some other people that like don't live within the city limits. And she just starts going on this tirade about how like, you know, Republicans this, Trump that, everybody's a fucking moron. Meanwhile, they're all at their desks behind her, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm a Democrat, I'm a liberal, but these motherfuckers in here, they're crazy," and they're literally behind her. And I'm just like, "Yeah, I want to get out of here because I think you got some words coming." But I mean,
how many people go out of their way to make sure that they let you know that they're not racist, but it comes off as probably kind of racist?
Dude, I had this one lady on an old walking route that I had. She flags me down with this piece of mail, and it's like a thank you for your donation letter from the ACLU, and she just like flags me down to point at it and be like, "We're not racist, we donate." And then she points at the Black Lives Matter flag on her door, and I'm like, thank you so much. You know what I mean? It's like, it's good to know that you're out there, but you didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, somebody, I think on that same route, this crazy lady started opening firing out of her house at somebody else. Yeah. What? I was almost at the end, and this dude that walks through the neighborhood from his job to his house was just like freaking out. And he's like, "Dude, that lady's got a gun. She's got a gun. You don't see it?" And I look up, and like this SUV speeding off, and she's like shooting at the SUV. And I'm just like, well, guess I'll go to the other part of my route now. It's like after a certain point, it just, you know, people stopping you, asking you crazy questions, accusing you of doing things to their mail or like stealing their packages or things like that. And I'm like, I'm the one that put it there. Why would I take it? Why would I take it? Dude, it's insane. But you know, it's definitely not a boring job.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You'll always have a few stories to tell at the next show that happens. It was funny because I didn't even realize it until you started talking. You fix your shirt. I'm like, oh, he's like wearing like the.
Yeah, I just came from work. I just got off work.
Yeah.
Like, sped over here to get to this.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I appreciate you giving a little behind the scenes as far as the crazy life of a male person.
Anytime, I got you.
So Tyler, like any of the video people that are watching this podcast, I guess like you guys are in your like studio. So is that where you guys did your EP and a lot of the other recordings that you're doing with your band?
So right now it kind of looks funny because there's like a bed in here. We just moved a bed. I'm having a kid, so me and my wife are having our first daughter. We're super excited. So but and also what has gone with that is me and another engineer here in town. We are opening up a full studio together. So I'm finally moving out of the house and stuff like that. So I've been transitioning. So yeah, right now you're in the drum room where we recorded drums for the Wish stuff. Yes.
I see. Yeah, I was like,
and now it just kind of looks like a weird sex room, like soundproof,
low lighting, soundproof.
You're just naked with a guitar and you're just playing some little ditty.
That's the next Wish music video.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. Buddy, I am here for that. Do you want to talk about KOTP and just like how that started and just the process of just recording your own bands? Because I know there's always some like
weird.
It is weird for sure, but yeah, take us down that path.
Yeah, like when I first moved up here, I kind of I left my core musician group down in Central Florida, and so a graduation present that my parents got me was a little interface, and so I got to like start messing around recording, and I figured out that that's what I was like put here for, and so I was just so stoked at kind of just wanting to record any band that I could. Had no idea what I was doing, didn't look up anything, just dove in. And it was funny because I started a band camp right at first, and this is 10 years ago. So I started a band camp and started just putting up the stuff that I was recording. And it, there was no like copyrights. Like the bands knew what I was doing and they wanted the exposure too. And we were all super small bands. It wasn't anything like big or anything like that. And so then now I'm like 10 years later, it's kind of like merging more into like a label slash like studio because now I really started, wanting to put out tapes of the bands and stuff like that. And so it's just evolved into something, that I never expected. And so now it's really cool because it's definitely it's my side hustle, but it takes more of my time than my actual job.
Yeah.
It's your passion.
And it's definitely my passion, but it's always been because Tallahassee's been a small city, it's been hard to kind of get people interested in hardcore, get new faces out to shows. Yep. So KOTP was definitely just a mission of like, I'm going to record every hardcore band in town. I'm going to put them out on the internet. I'm going to start bands. I'm going to play in bands. And yeah, man, there's some shows where I'm playing in 4 bands and it's the corniest freaking thing in the world. And as I've gotten older, it's become more of like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Everyone, there's memes that are made about, I literally saw one today of like these 2 guys talking. He's like, hey, what's up? You here for the show? He's like, yeah, I'm playing in all 4 bands.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, that has happened before and it sucks. And in a city where you don't have, when you're not in Philadelphia, you're not in Boston, you're not in New York, you got to do something. So KOTP was definitely the thing that I've, tried to create to like give back to the scene a little bit.
And, dude. And probably at this point, Tyler's probably one of the most important people we have because without him, I mean, it's not like he's charging an arm and a leg. I think like his prices are pretty cheap for what he's giving. Like, small bands need quality recordings, like gone are the days where everybody's really into the super lo-fi, like shitty recording hardcore bands. We all like production value. We all like that. Yeah. So like Tyler's giving that. And also by starting bands, he's directly feeding back into the community by adding, more things for people to listen to. And he was booking shows for a long time. Like I was booking shows for like a good 1.5, 2 years. And then I stopped and Tyler picked that up. And he was the only one booking shows and recording bands and starting bands and promoting those bands, So it's like, we all have a role to play. And when you're in a small town, your role becomes huge. Yeah. And like Tyler's probably doing like 10 people's jobs. Oh. So like definitely wouldn't be here without him.
Thank you, man. No, but I think that's the wording, how you said that, Kenny, is really important. When it's a smaller scene, when someone takes up call it a position of leadership, whether it's booking shows, whether it's recording bands, whether it's filming the bands and putting them out, the value of that is just so exponential because as soon as it's there and if that person stops for whatever reason, like the gap feels just so massive.
Enormous.
Like you could go to California and just like they're like, shout out to Steven again. Like he's filming a lot of the stuff in Southern California, but like there's a number of people doing it in California because it is California. Yes. Same thing with like bands that just play there. It's like, oh, if our band breaks up, like there's already like 6 other like metalcore bands or 7 other like New York hardcore style bands. So recognizing and a lot of those, call it jobs or tasks or opportunities, are kind of like self-imposed. I don't think Tyler was like, hey man, I saw you got that interface there. Would you like to be like, no one really asked you. You just like, I need, like, it was like an inclination, like I need to do this, and it just grew and like exploded into what it is. And I find
and you're always influenced by like the generation above you. Like, I mean,
Sure.
I was solely just addicted to it because I was seeing this, scene just flourish. And at the time I was coming up here, even Luis and Tony and Kane, these
all the old heads,
these people that, you just end up wanting to be at the time, and then they end up becoming your peers, and then they end up becoming your bandmates. And it's just so crazy how like that ends up happening. And so I think that it's definitely you get hooked, kind of what Kenny said earlier at the beginning of like once you've gotten a little dose, it's hard to walk away.
Impossible. I don't get it. I don't see how people
and if you're a lifer, I mean, if you're, there's people, the old singer of my band he might kill me for saying this, but I think he's going to be turning 40 this year. So Bob turning 40. Bob Wilson might be 40. He might be 37 or 38. I might be a couple years off, but he's getting
rounding up.
And he's booking, still booking shows.
Yeah,
he will be, doing it for ever.
Respect to that. Yeah. But that's what hardcore is, man. It is a self-sustained community of people who see a need and feel a need.
Yeah.
That's like the idea that is bred into you, and it's like, don't ask anybody else to do it. You do it. You know what I mean? Don't sit around and wait for somebody else to start a band or to book a show. Do it.
And that's what I won't say it was a dumb decision, because I will still back it, because the people that didn't understand it, they just don't want to understand it, and that's fine. But we had the second two songs we released under a title, and the title was "Sorry We're Not South Florida."
Yeah, I was wondering if we were gonna bring this up.
And dude, there are some South Florida kids that did not take it well at all.
Yeah.
We are friends with so many South Florida kids. There's a lot of South Florida kids that have moved from South Florida up here to Tallahassee. It wasn't meant as any bad blood. It was calling out more of our own scene and saying, it's not always going to be easy. You're not going to be, we're not going to be an area where we have 200 kids at a show. We don't always have venues, so, start a band, get into it.
Your presence is important.
Exactly.
Your input is important. And like, I'm sorry we don't have the resources, but like, you have to be involved. Yeah. You have to be involved if you want to keep coming to shows. If you want this to be something special, you have to be involved. That's what it was about.
It was a call to arms, not really a call out. And so it was
really so Homecoming's on that on that EP, and so or on that release, and Homecoming was supposed to be the second part of that, where it's like back when me and Tyler were younger, and we were going to shows, it was every other weekend, like. That was special. You know what I'm saying? Remember who we were back then. Remember what we did. Yeah. You know what I mean? There were shows every other weekend, people jumping off of shit. If like a venue kicked us out, we found something else. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was you couldn't stop us. And it's like, it was kind of just like to make the new kids wonder about the old times and make the old timers remember what it was like when you were 16 or 17 and you were at Big Daddy's and the lights went off and 40 Winners started playing and you lost your mind. You know what I mean? You lost your mind. And it's just like, it's cool. It's okay that you're like older and you changed, but like, you're still missed. We still want you around. Come to a show. You know what I mean? Like, That's all it is. It was a call to arms. We love you, South Florida. Yeah. Please do not be upset with us. We would like to play there. Me and Tyler have been going to South Florida for a long time. Please don't be mad.
No, there's a lot of similarities there. Like I grew up in Winnipeg, Manitoba, which is like essentially if you took Canada, it's like right in the dead center. And Calgary, where I live now, like anytime like Calgary bands would come through Winnipeg, or just certain bands in Winnipeg, they would always like shit talk one another, just like, oh, Calgary's got the lamest mosh and mortality rate, blah blah blah, and withdrawal, blah blah blah. But it's like, it's all in good fun, and I think like, the certain scenes, every scene has pros, every scene has cons, every scene has things that they could all do better on, whether it's like welcoming people to shows, documenting the shows, advertising the shows. There's so like I feel like the thing with hardcore is like it's always just like a self-improvement kind of thing. There's always things that can be better, and to be around for as long as you are in hardcore in general and to see that growth is like truly something to be like proud of, I think.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, you guys are getting me fired up, and it makes me it bums me out that there's no like upcoming shows that I can just be at.
I know,
like,
dude.
Yo, I talked to all these guys at Florida. You guys need to get your heads
all
the time,
and that's
checked.
And that's what's like cool about, you know, the different scenes like you were talking about. And you know, you can have a state where you have so many different boroughs of the hardcore, and so we have, you know, you definitely have South Florida hardcore. You have Tampa, which is its own thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Tampa hardcore
Love
is,
Tampa.
you know, you have just such a, I mean,
there's unique styles all over the place, and it's like something to be celebrated. Like, I am super glad like I got to do this, because like I've been the hugest nerd about hardcore my entire life. I get made fun of, I get called corny, because like hardcore I'm probably one of those people that it's like hardcore is a personality. You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't mean to do it in a cheesy, corny way, but it's like literally something that like I can't live without. You know what I mean? It's like, like you were talking about being fired up and being on fire. That's how I am all day, every day. Yeah. People have been telling me, one of my best friends have been telling me it's not healthy to listen to hardcore all the time, but I can't help it. It's what I love. I was literally listening to Neverending Game before I got here. Not particularly upset about anything, but that fucking band rips. You know what I mean? And it's like, I love it so much. It's like one of my most favorite things, and like I want to share it with everybody. I miss shows. Like I thought about making a TikTok where it's just like me putting shows in the background and just me moshing, because I miss shows. I miss them so much. We took them for granted. I
will say, I found side note. I found something from your channel. I want to say it's Hardcore Kim. Is that the guy?
Hardcore Keem.
Hardcore Keem.
Yeah.
That is. Have you checked out his Instagram channel? No. It's just this guy doing like album reviews, and he moshes. Like he's got like a dummy in the background, and he just like waits for the breakdown to come up, and he like.
Was he a bigger black dude?
Yeah.
I have seen that guy.
Shout out to Akeem.
You had him on your channel, and I immediately went to his page, and I crack up every time I watch one of his videos.
I love it.
So I should send him some your guys' stuff, because he's definitely like more in the, call it beat down metalcore kind of space. Yeah. But he's like, I default into supporting bands from Florida, bands from that region. So
nice.
Like, I love that.
I'll send him your stuff.
Definitely send him. I want to see him beat up the dummy during Frederick Photo. That would be really funny.
Do you know what the dummy's name is?
No.
So you guys are familiar with Body Snatcher, I'm guessing?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So the dummy's name is Bobby Snatcher.
Bobby Snatcher.
As soon as he told me that, I'm like, okay, it's over.
That's sick.
The way he even like produces his videos well, and like with his little like sound blips that he puts in and everything, it's just like so great.
Attention to
the
detail.
SpongeBob like add-ins and stuff.
I love that.
Just like, oh my God.
I love it when people are like having a good time and are doing fun things, but they pay enough attention to like make sure they take care of the details. You know what I mean? Well, and I love that.
And I think like I want to say Waka Flocka even put this thing out. He's like, do something today that you like know someone would make fun of you of, but just do it because you like it. Yeah. And like a lot of people just don't do shit because they know people are gonna make fun of them. And I like the thought of starting an Instagram channel where you do album reviews and beat up a dummy sounds corny. And when you tell someone about it, and then of course this guy pulls it off so well, has 15,000 viewers on his Instagram or something like that, and is hilarious.
It's the confidence, dude.
Yeah,
it's the old timey hardcore shit where it's like you remember in the early 2000s we didn't take ourselves too seriously. You know what I mean? We had a good time.
You're also 16.
That's true, but I think that was a magical time, dude. That was a magical time where people didn't take it so seriously. They were literally doing it to have fun, and it's like people were covering songs that they had no business covering, and it's like covering a Limp Bizkit track like at This Is Hardcore. now I feel like some people would be
People
into
would go
it.
off. People would go off.
People
oh
would,
my god,
I would go off
people would go off.
100%. But I also feel like there's this thing where it's like, you know, you gotta be cool. You know what I mean? And like, I miss the goofiness of old school hardcore. I miss that where people didn't take themselves too seriously, and you could have a huge band that would just do some goofy shit because they were having the best time of their lives. You know what I mean? And it's like, I just miss that shit. I miss that shit.
I think you can really see when there's bands who are like, you know, and every band is different. Like some bands are definitely more serious than others. But I'm trying to think of I think it was, I can't remember the guest on this podcast, but he said a quote that stuck with me where it was like, I want to watch hardcore bands that are wearing sunglasses without wearing them. Like they're just they're not like wearing them to be cool. They're just like they get on stage and they're just cool. Whether it's a funny, like jokey kind of like we're having fun, or it's super serious and political, like it just don't stress the small stuff. Like hardcore is a very goofy and a collection of oddities. So I think we need to don't get it twisted in that regard.
A person who does that so well is Robert Goodspeed. I don't know if you know who this guy is, but he played in my old band Mouse of the Palace. He plays in this band called Burning Strong right now. He is
so sick.
Pensacola, Florida's like
linchpin.
Yeah, he does everything over there. But he is the epitome of not taking hardcore too seriously, and he would wear like crop tops on stage every single time we played. He would wear like mesh shirts. He'd wear just like whatever it was, just have fun. Flip flops all the time, sunglasses. We'd pull up to a venue and you'd have all these guys dressed in black and you know, looking super serious, and they would take one look at Rob and they would just be like, oh man, what is
Jordan told me about when he two-stepped to Drown the entire song, whether it was a two-step or not, that time you're playing Pensacola. And it's just like, that's like who he is. He's just like having fun.
Just having a good time.
And I love that. I love that.
Yeah. Definitely need to just, when shows come back, like not only like you were saying, like never take them for granted, because the last show that you go to could be the last one for years because another pandemic is coming. I think that's a huge lesson, but again, not taking hardcore too seriously, because it is a very it's supposed to be a fun genre. As far as ending this podcast, guys, the way that we usually end it is a favorite mosh story. So I guess we get the treat of having two favorite mosh stories. So I'm not sure who wants to go first, and again, set the bar, but I'll let you guys decide on that. And this story doesn't need to be like, I hit this person hit me. It could be something at a festival you were attending, a festival you're playing, a show, a video that you saw, whatever is first to your mind.
All right, I'm going to go first. I got two. The first time seeing King 9 in New Jersey at Back to School Jam, like 2016. I don't think I've ever seen anything like I had seen there. That was just insane.
Yeah.
And then probably the 3 Knee Deep set at FYA, probably like FYA like 6 or FYA.
Are you talking about the trash can?
Yeah, the one that was
Sam P trash can polish. Yeah, that was gonna be one of mine. I gotta think about it now.
It was just absolutely insane. Bob decided to put 3 Knee Deep opening. I think it was like day 2.
Yeah.
So he he made sure that everyone would show up for the first band, and everyone fucking did, and it was chaos.
Nuts. I was caught up in that, and the most, like, one of the, you look up and everything's slow motion and it's almost like you're in a war zone, and it's just like people swinging. And I think that's the same year that Jesus Piece played, and Corey Charpenter jumped on the railing at the Orpheum and hung on to the second story banister and was like kicking his legs, and then rolled back into the pit and started moshing. Love that dude.
Kid is crazy.
I love him so much. I think my favorite one is this last FYA that we went to. I had gotten kicked in the knees, both knees backwards, and so I was like sitting on the sideline. Yeah, it sucked, dude. That was a bad year for my knees, and I'm already heavy with bad knees because I've been moshing since I was 16. So I cannot remember her name, but It was this girl with white plugs, dark hair in a ponytail, white plugs, and a bright orange hoodie. Hardest mosher of the weekend. Insanity. And I remember it was during TUI, and she got, or maybe it was not this last year, but the year before, she got knocked down and like in front of me. And so I tried to pick her up, and she literally like swatted my hand away, turned around, pushed me down, and then moshed across the floor. And I was like, I'm in love with you. That was the cool, that because I was just like, fuck.
Yeah.
Jesus, I love that.
Well,
So
if that orange hoodied, white plugged girl is listening to this podcast, please let yourself be known. More so to give you mosh creds, but no.
Yeah, I was about to say because I'm a disappointment. Very sorry.
Well, guys, this has been a super fun podcast. I think we got to talk a lot of goofs and gaffs, but a lot of like really just important stuff that we should all remember about what hardcore should be, despite this time of having no shows. Anything that you guys want to plug, your Instagrams, where people can listen to your music, anything you want to say before we end things off here?
We got that 4-song demo up on Spotify right now. We've got a music video in the works, and we've got a new song in the works that we'll be releasing pretty soon. So we got I think like a couple more shirts for sale, and then we got a few tapes left too. So yeah, check us out on Instagram at When I Saw Hell.
Yep. Register to vote.
Yes, there we go.
Actually vote. Always be anti-racist. Always be anti-oppression. That's it.
There we go.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you guys for joining me on the podcast today. This was very fun.
Thank you, Spencer.
Thanks,
appreciate it for having us.
Of course.